this, and then we'll do insurance. So here we go. The house was purchased for $110,000 is a down payment. The balance will be amortized over 20 years at 6.75%. Prepare a mortgage schedule for the first 3 months. So first of all, we have to figure out the payment. So it's 110,000 minus 27,500, and that will be multiplied by a table rate over 1,000. So you take the 20 years at 6.75, 755 it is, and I'm going from, you will just check to make sure I get this right. So I'll just write this down, okay, because that is going to be helpful. I multiply that by 7.55 divided by 1,000, and there's your monthly payment, $622.88. That normally gets you a mark right away, and that payment goes into every single cell here, and make sure you have dollar signs, okay? So dollar signs everywhere, and then we fill out the rest. So this, once you have this, it remains unchanged. So here we're gonna take, I told you to cancel this, right? The last column, I always said don't do it. Okay, so at first the unpaid balance, right, the amount that you owe at the very beginning is this amount right here when you subtract the down payment that's what goes in there. So to figure out this cell, it's 82,500 times the interest rate, which is 6.75, and when you turn that into a decimal, it turns into 0.0675. All of that divided by 12. Okay, 82,500 times 0.0675 divided by 12, that's 464.06. You subtract that amount from the beginning, 158.82. Okay, what did I do here, right? I just went this minus that to get me that. Alternatively, if you had this but not this, you could still just go this minus that to fill in that blank, okay? So sometimes you will get a partially filled in chart. So it's 158.82 that we subtract from it. So that leaves you with 82,341.18. Did you get that part? I hope so. I know it's a negative here, okay? I know that. I'm using the negative to help me out here, right? So I just add and subtract values. I bring this number down to here. This is the last time I'm going to show this step here, because it doesn't, you don't need to show me this every single time. And I'm going to go divide it by 12 like this. Okay, so I take this number, I multiply that by 0.0675. Then I divide that by 12, and it's 463.17. So 460, just slightly less than before. So then I just subtract that. You get 159.71. Slightly more than before, which is what we want, right? So we subtract that. And this is 82,181.47. Okay. And one more time, I'll just keep that on my calculator. Next is 462.27, right? So slightly less, that's exactly what we want. And then I take that 622.88 minus that. It's 160. 61. We subtract that. Almost there. And that's 82,020.86. Okay, so this is the number that I would be looking for in particular, and then know right away you got this right. One more thing though, the interest you will have paid in the first 3 months, you add this up, right? A principal paid in the first 3 months, you add this up. Total payments made in the first 3 months, right? So keep that in mind. I don't know why this must have shifted because I made some changes. Okay, we're good. So I expect you to know this stuff moving forward. All right, let's go to page 13 here. Page 13. So make sure everybody you go to 13 because this is going to be new. I don't think you've ever really talked about insurance. Anybody in here ever had to deal with home insurance? Something happened to your house and you had to make a claim? Hopefully never, right? Hopefully you make those payments and you'll never have to worry about it. But we need to be ready for that, right? So let me just get to that part. Okay. So one thing that I need to add here right off the bat is that a couple years ago the government started taxing insurance. So before it wasn't taxed, right? So this is new. I don't think I have this in the notes here, right? Insurance is taxed PST, right? That's 7%. That's important to add. That's going to come back with the formulas later on that I'm about to show you. Okay. So insurance, what is that? There's the tenant. Watch this. There's tenant when you rent, and there's homeowners insurance. So you're gonna have to make sure you make a distinction. If somebody's renting, homeowners insurance is also condo. If you own a condo, you still fall under this. Okay, so this is renting, and this is owning. Okay. Insurance policy that protects loss of contents. Okay, it protects you from loss of contents or personal belongings. They call that perils. Right? Can you put that down? The legal name for that is the perils. Right? You should consider tenant insurance if you're renting, as it covers your belongings. So if there's a fire, I don't know if you listen to the news. There's lots of apartment fires. Sometimes arson, sometimes somebody's leaving something on the stove and walks away, right? And fire starts in that suite, and it will span across the neighboring suites, right? So why not the building itself? Who will insure the building? The landlord, right? The landlord insures the building. You need to insure your stuff, right? So if there's a fire, your stuff is not covered. If there's a flood, if you're in the lower unit and somebody above you, the dishwasher breaks down and it's constantly leaking down to your suite, if it damages your stuff, it's not going to be covered, right? Unless, of course, they had insurance and their insurance would cover your stuff, but you don't want to risk it, right? Tenant insurance also covers a liability, right? To your surrounding structures or to your neighbors, right? You could be, this is the example I use here is this. Something was wrong with my tub. Like I used to rent, and there was a leak from the tub. So my kids would always fill up the tub, and I had like a 2 and a 1 year old. They would just have a blast in there, right? And somehow there was leaking through into the neighbor underneath us. and luckily nothing bad happened. Like it wasn't major, but it could have been a liability, right? Like a problem with something I did affected the neighbor, right? So your insurance will cover that as well. It's super cheap, guys. It costs anywhere from $150 to $200 a year to get tenant insurance. So just get it, right? Just get insurance because it's very, you don't want to have to deal with anything or your stuff to be protected, right? If you have expensive stuff, even if it's not expensive, right, it adds up, right? Homeowners insurance, similar, but uh, it protects you from fire, burglary, or storm damage. It covers the contents, the building, and liability. So not only does it cover the contents like in tenants, it also will cover the building, right? That's important. That's new compared to tenant insurance. Deductibles are between 200 and 500, and I will make a correction here. It is actually, it could vary, but it's 1,000, right? I have $1,000 deductible on my house. I will add something right here. Put a little arrow because we need to add a greater deductible results in lower premiums, results in lower insurance premium. So if I have $1,000 deductible, that means that every time I were to make a claim, I have to pay 1,000 first and foremost, and then the insurance covers everything above that. So will I go to my insurance company if a window gets smashed, like my son plays hockey in the backyard? Probably not. Probably not, because two things will happen. You have to dish out $1,000, right? And your insurance will go up thereafter because now you have a history of making a claim. So I wouldn't do it. So the insurance company says like, okay, the higher your deductible, the less likely you will be to make a claim, right? So anywhere from 200 to 1,000, I went with 1,000, saves me a couple $100 a year, and I've never used insurance to this day. I hope that stays that way. Premiums increase based on the number of claims. Sure, that's very important, right? Policies can be comprehensive or broad. It's called standard as well. Okay, so those are your two kind of types. I would say I wouldn't know why you wouldn't want to go comprehensive every time. Comprehensive covers a lot more, and you don't have to give a whole lot of details as to what you own. Broad is just a very basic standard insurance. It doesn't cost a whole lot more to go comprehensive. Okay. So I'll tell you this. You just bought a 72-inch flat screen TV. You go downstairs. One of those really expensive ones. Let's assume like, what are they now? Like 3-4 grand, like the latest. And it falls and it breaks, right? I was told that comprehensive insurance would cover that. As long as it's not like malicious or intentionally dropped, right? Because then obviously not. But if you're moving it down to the basement, it drops. Comprehensive would cover. Standard probably not, right? So comprehensive it's more it's like all encompassing. It's like an umbrella. It covers almost everything. It covers if you go on a trip and you have like a really expensive camera, somebody steals it, it can be covered under your house insurance. Is it worth it? If I have $1,000 deductible, I have to have a really expensive camera, right? So I probably wouldn't be making that claim. I would only be making a claim, to be honest, if my roof, like there's a storm, a tree falls down and just smashes my roof, and it costs like 10 grand to replace. Probably gonna make a claim. If the basement floods, I need to rip out all the drywall, the carpet, redo the electrical maybe, I will make a claim, but not for small things, right? So I guess it's you gotta look into it. What's involved, right? Talk to your broker. Do you know that? Where would you go to get your insurance for your house insurance? You probably have you might have never thought of it, but there's lots of insurance brokers. You'll see like in the strip malls or even in malls. There's like Red River Insurance or right now I'm running out of names, but there's lots of insurance places. You just go to them. You do your auto pack there as well. They most of the time they do auto pack and they do your house insurance. They take care of all of that. And what is a broker, guys? A broker, this is why I tell my broker. I give him the year of my house, how much it's worth, what kind of insurance do I want? I want comprehensive. All right. Uh, if there's a flood, how much do you want to be covered for? Blah 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 blah. You answer a bunch of questions. Have you ever had a claim before? You fill out that, and then you give it to your broker. And mine, I don't know about yours, gave me 10 different. They go through 10 different companies, and I can choose which one I want to go with. It varies in price. Some offers more than the other. There's, for example, this is actually very important because if you ever own a house, I didn't know this. Luckily, I didn't get flooded this last spring, but there are 3 flood insurances. You're listening? There is overland, there's groundwater, and there's sewer backup. Um, Sewers, that's the worst one of them all. You know what that means, right? If the city gets so backed up, their system gets so overwhelmed that the sewer actually comes into your home. That's nasty, right? Technically, new houses are supposed to have, like, let's say this is the pipe going to the main system. You're supposed to have a valve here that closes. As soon as it senses that it's flowing into your house, it will close. But the older homes don't have that, right? So you got to watch out. Anyways, so there are 3 flood insurances you need to have. I didn't know this. I think I only had this one, Overland. So I emailed my broker. It's like, do I have this? It's just because my neighbor got their basement flooded, and 2 houses down also got their basement flooded. So I was worried, right? And they're like, actually, you only have this, sir. You don't have these 2. And I said, well, what are you waiting for? Throw it on there, right? No, you can't right now. There's a moratorium on adding anything right now. So the insurance companies, they say when it's springtime and there's lots of flooding, they don't allow you to add anything because they don't want to lose. Because what are people going to do? They're going to have their basement flooded and they're going to quickly add this so that it's covered. They don't want that, right? So, guys, there's so much to learn. I won't overwhelm you right now. Just ask. Ask, ask, ask. Email your broker. Ask them. You don't know all these things. You'll forget, right? You will probably forget that there are 3 kinds of, but you should probably remember it's like there's something Mr. Erickson said about flooding, right? And then you ask them and they'll take care of you, okay? I learned it the hard way. I mean, I didn't get any flooding, but yikes, if it had been, I may not have been covered, okay? All that money that I pay every year goes down the drain, right? Okay, let's talk about here tenants insurance and house insurance. Tenant insurance, insurance for people renting. Even if it's renting a house, you're still renting, you're a tenant. Okay? Home insurance, insurance for people owning a house or condominium. Right? It's contents and the building. This is only the contents. That's the difference. That's why it's costing you more to get your house insurance. Okay? Watch this. Banks, lending institutions will not release a mortgage until they see that you're insured. Like I could not get my house until I could show them this paper saying I have insurance for that house because they know that you probably won't be able to pay it if your house burns down. Okay. Okay, so here are some factors. This is very important. You don't have to memorize them all. This is what influences the cost. Location. Let me see here. Location is rural versus city. It's like the distance from fire hall. Like they have this, insurance companies have all of this in their system. They know how far you are from a fire hall. If a fire were to happen at your place, they know how long it would take for the fire department to get there. If you live outside, like in the rural areas in the country, if there's a fire, you're basically looking at bye bye home. Like the fire department will arrive just to control the fire so that doesn't spread, right? But by the time they get there, 20 minutes, half an hour, that's enough to ruin your house. Even if they can extinguish the fire, everything will be damaged, everything will be soaking wet. Did you know that? Your house is soaking wet, like they just hose it down, like they have to rip everything down and do it again, right? So location is important. Coverage. Do you want comprehensive versus broad, right? You want deduct. I will talk about deductible here, right? 200 versus 500 versus 1,000, right? So it matters what kind of deductible you have. And then there it is one more time, just so you remember, deductible is the amount you have to pay when you make a claim. Discounts. You can be claim free, right? Claim free. If you have never made a claim, you get a discount. If you're a smoke free, right? Smoke free, you get a discount. Alarm system. That's right. Thank you, John. Alarm system. Actually, if the alarm system, if you just have one, you get a discount. Go ahead. If you have a system installed, you get a discount. If it's monitored, you get a bigger discount. So sometimes that discount pays for it being monitored. Just saying. What else do I have here? Sump pump alarm. You know what a sump pump is, right? You should. Sump pump alarm. So I have a friend who has its sump pump, like you know that little float, right? I guess it will have a sensor there. So as soon as it senses that the water is too high, the alarm company gets a call, and I don't know what they do with it, but I'm sure they send somebody out to check, right? Credit score. You're like, what? How's the credit score? It's actually a new thing, right? Insurance companies found that a good credit score, a good score, I'm just going to say, results in fewer claims. So you get a discount for having a good credit score. And they don't do it, they won't do it just like that. I emailed my broker. So I said, hey, what about, I just heard it in the news about the credit score thingy, right? Sorry, that's not what I said, but you can say it, doesn't matter. Uh, and they're like, oh, well, you need to fill out this form where you give us the permission to check your credit score. And then I got a discount. So I'm like, hey, go check all you want, right? I want my money, right? I want money back if I can. So it's actually pretty cool. So you can bring down, I'm not kidding you, you could be paying $1,800 a year and bring it down to like $1,200 a year. You just have to make some decisions, right? What are you comfortable with? All right, you ready for math? Because this wasn't math, right? But you need to know this stuff. Okay, go to page 14, please. That formula right there, it took me years to develop it. Just so you know, I think I've kind of polished it just this last year. I kept on adding to it and whatever. So it looks scary. It looks scary. Make sure it's on your study sheet. Okay, so I will actually right now pause this. I will pause it and you will transfer, you'll have insurance there, you'll transfer this onto your study sheet right now. That's how important it is. Sheet, okay? Got the pink one? Open it up, like right down the center, there's two tables. There's the tenant. That's when you're renting. You got to use that one. So the pink booklet, open it down the middle. There's a tenant package policy. And when you go sideways, there's the homeowners. You see it? Homeowners. They both. This one looks scary, doesn't it? You're like, what? I'm gonna drop the course right now. Don't do it, right? You're gonna narrow it down to just one number, guys. You're gonna narrow it down. So watch. You're looking up, right? There's 4 areas that we talk about. There's Winnipeg or Metro Winnipeg. There's Area 2, Area 3, and Area 4. You have to narrow it down to one of them. Most cases are in Winnipeg. And then you're going to have to pick between standard or comprehensive, right? So you're down one column. And so basically you narrow down which area. Oh, I'm right in Winnipeg. It's comprehensive, then you're down to this column. And watch on the side here. That is the amount that you're going to insure your house for. And it goes from 50,000 all the way to 200,000, right? Can you insure anything for 200,000 these days? Can you buy a house that's worth 200,000? Probably not. So what do we do with that? It says additional amounts per $1,000 of coverage. There's a certain amount we pay when we go over the $200,000 max. Okay. And watch this. Can you see this? I allow you to highlight this if you want. Even though in the exam you will be given a chart like this, right? You won't have to bring the pink one in. But this is anything you see in here by definition is $500 deductible, right? If you choose to go $200 deductible, what does it say at the bottom here? If you want a $200 deductible, it says increase premium by 10%. Where does that 10% come from? You see my formula here? 1.10, it's right there. Taxes goes without saying. Go to the tenant policy. That one is a lot friendlier. It's not as overwhelming. It doesn't matter where you live. All of Manitoba pays the same. Because I guess your stuff is the same here as anywhere else. Anyways, so the coverage amount goes all the way up to $75,000, and then for every additional $1,000 of coverage, we're going to pay more. Again, I allow you to do that. $500 deductible. Everything that's already there is a $500 deductible amount. But if you choose to go $200, you need to increase the premium by 10%. So I hope you understand, if you want a lower deductible, you need to pay more because you're more likely to make a claim. Okay? Okay, let's do some math here. The more examples you do, the better you're gonna get at this. Okay? So, you ready? You ready? You ready? Okay. Example 1. Joan rents. Oh, that's renting. So that's tenant insurance right there. An apartment and wishes to buy. You want $65,000 of coverage. You want standard. And you want a $500 deductible. What is their annual payment before and after tax? So it wants both. Let's just do this for now. Can you, what's their annual payment? We'll get rid of the before. We'll just do after tax. Like that. Get rid of the before. We'll just do after tax. And we will use this formula up here. So you go insurance is equal to square bracket. That table rate, every single question will have that one. So let's go get our table. And we're renting, right? So it's going to be this one, tenant insurance. How much are we insuring for? 65 grand. So we go to 65, put your finger on there. And it's standard, right? So there are two choices. It's standard. Just match them. It's $315 per year right now, as it stands. So you put down 315 plus we're doing insurance, so we're on page 14. Right now, guys, you don't have to worry about any of this, any of it. Why not? Because we're not going over this maximum amount. We are within, like 65,000 is right there. So we are just going to replace all of this with a big zero. Okay? Boom. Are we worrying about a $200 deductible? Right, so we won't worry about it. Can I do this just quick here? We're not going to worry about that because we want a $500 deductible. Are we going to worry about the 1.07 part? We want after tax, yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is all it is. It's 315 plus 0 is just 315 times 1.07. And you're done. Okay, so we take 315 times 1.07. In this case, you'd be paying this much per year. It's always per year. I'm never going to trick you on that one. Okay? It's always an annual amount. Okay. So I used my formula. I plugged in what I knew. And a lot of times, guys, can you look up here on the screen? This is going to be zero quite often because we're not going to go over. At the same time, there will be instances where you will go over. So I will do those examples with you, okay? If you just promise me you're going to follow along today and you're going to try to understand, the rest will take care with practice, okay? Next, Brent owns a house, right? So it's owners in Metro Winnipeg. Sometimes it just says Winnipeg. It's the same thing. You want $175,000 of insurance, comprehensive, a $200 deductible. Those are key words. The $200 deductible, comprehensive. What is the annual rate before and after tax? Let's get rid of the after tax, just before tax. Oops, I don't want to erase tax, right? So we start insurance is equal to square bracket. The table rate, I got to use this one, right? The homeowner's insurance. I'm going to cover it up for a second here. Let me see if I can do this. Yeah, there we go. So it's a Metro Winnipeg comprehensive, and I want 175. So I go down here. 175 is right there. Just cross over and just match it, and it's 668. You're not going over, right? Right, guys? We're not going over? Okay, because Anmol said so. I'm just kidding, because it's not past 200,000, right? So that's what it is. So 668 goes in here, plus 0. You don't have to do the plus 0 if you don't want to, but it's just showing that that big chunk is all 0. Times, do I have to multiply it by 1.10? Yes. Yeah. Do I have to multiply it by 1.07? Not this time, because it says before tax. So what I'm going to do, just for your notes, right? No tax, right? No tax. So I'm just going to show that it's there. It's as if I'm using that original formula, just writing it down, but then I'm like, wait a minute, I don't need this, and I don't need this. That's why it's 0, right? And so what am I left with, right? So it's essentially 668 times 1.10. That's all that is left, right? And you're smart cookies. You'll figure this out in no time. Trust me. 668 times 1.10 or 1.1. In this case, this is before tax. You got it, guys. Okay, one more. Jill owns a home, so homeowners insurance, in Pine Falls. Does that matter? No. And is within 8 miles of a fire hydrant. I'm just trying to throw you off here. But what matters is area 3. That's what you're going to highlight. Okay? You want 225,000 worth of insurance. What should that number tell you right away? It's over 200,000, right? Can you remember that 200,000 is like the max that shows up on our chart? So we're over. Okay? Standard insurance, $500 deductible. Let's change this to after. I want to mix it up so that we're prepared for anything I throw at you. Can we do this right here? Overage is 225,000 minus the 200,000. Where does this come from, the 200,000? Yeah, this is the max. Okay. So that's 25,000 right there. You should pick that up. After a while, you will pick it up, right? This is a very important number. I'm actually going to put I'm going to do this here. Pick a different highlighter and just like, hey, I'm going to need that in a bit. So here we go. Insurance is equal to, it says table rate first and foremost. So we're going to, it's standard $500 deductible, area 3. So area 3, standard 726. So I got to go down, right? I can't go past 200,000, but you're like, I need 225. Hold on. Take the 726 and remember this number, because this is how much extra you pay for anything you're over. So 726, 355. 726 plus, this is where the overage comes in. I'm getting an extra $25,000 of coverage. I'm going to multiply that by a number over 1,000. And this number right here is the one you get from your chart, this 355 per $1,000. Okay, write that down. I'm going to highlight the 25,000 in here. So you see, okay, that's where that came from because I'm over. Do I need to multiply this by 1.10? It all has to do with the deductible. It's a $500 deductible, not a $200, right? Remember that? So we actually don't need this. Okay, we don't need that. Because this, ladies and gentlemen, this part, this is a $500 deductible. Like it's actually, if you look up at the original, I have a little bracket that tells you everything inside that square bracket is a $200 $500 deductible. Sorry. I have to go times 1.07 because this is after tax, right? So that is their tax. So let's clean this up a little bit. So I'm going to go square bracket. I'm going to copy the 726 over. Grab your calculator. And you just go 25,000 times 3.55 divided by 1,000. Right? So you go this times this divided by that. And that gives you 88.75. You're like, wait a minute, Mr. Dirksen, what are you saying? You pay $88 for that extra $25,000 of coverage? That's exactly what I'm saying. That's how much you pay extra on top of the 726. Times 1.07. Let's add these up. 814.75 times 1.07. That's 871.78. It's too much work. If you have another highlighter, I know how many colors you have, but this one and this one came from the table right there. When you go over, they're going to be stacked right on top of each other. Okay? So let me just cover this up, right? If you max out anywhere, right, you max out there, you take that other number with you. You will take both of them with you to that formula. Okay. All right. Phew, I'm tired already. And I haven't even worked hard. Can you try using my formula? Zero risk. Remember, zero risk right now. You get it wrong, I might think a bit less of you if you get it wrong, just a little bit. I'm just kidding. But try to use my formula. And remember, is it renting or is it owning, right? Apartment is renting. So the first two are just renting, and the back is starting to be homeowners, okay? And then we'll continue with this tomorrow, okay?